Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Uti Elu, and today I am alone in the studio at the moment. Nigeria is being, or rather, Lagos traffic is being Lagos traffic. So today I'm alone in the studio, but nonetheless we're still going to have a fantastic conversation. We will have a guest with us later on, but as is our usual custom, we'll kick off. I want to say how was your day, but I've had a great day. But we'll kick off today's show by moving straight into our quote. So our quote for today says, "Our DNA is as a consumer company. For that individual customer who's voting thumbs up or thumbs down, that's who we think about. And we think that our job is to take responsibility for the complete user experience. And if it's not up to par, it's not our fault. Plain and simple." And this quote is from Steve Jobs. I think one of the key things about Steve Jobs, of course, he founded one of the most customer-centric companies in the world today, Apple, who really start and epitomize the outside-in approach to building consumer goods, and they've innovated so many solutions over the years that have really focused on solving real customer issues. So I'm hoping that that intro gives a hint into our topic for today's show. Everyone who, if you've been watching this show over the years, you know that I'm a customer experience professional, and the focus on the consumer, the focus on making sure that we get the right experience, and particularly I'll focus on the show for SMEs and small businesses, understanding the value that they offer to the Nigerian economy, are able to give the Nigerian consumer the right kind of experience. So today we're going to be talking about consumer protection and exploring some of the, or let's say exploring a key story in the news that has made the rounds around this subject. But whilst we are waiting for our guest to come in, I don't want to say too much about the story, but I don't want to give too much away at the moment. But whilst we're waiting for our guest to come in, we will sort of set the scene. I think a lot of people talk about customer experience in Nigeria, or I don't even want to say customer experience, talk about customer service. And the typical thing that you hear is that customer service is poor, Nigerians don't give service. And we've talked over the years on the show around the different concepts of customer service, of customer experience, and how small organizations, medium-sized enterprises and corporates, in fact, can all leverage customer experience as a true differentiator for our business. We'll all agree that when we make decisions about our purchases today, price may still be important, the quality of the product may also be important, but the real differentiator is usually the customer experience, because whilst I may be able to copy a product, I can't copy the unique experience that a company has created, because our customer bases are different, the customer segments and types that we serve are indeed different. So there are a lot of subtleties to this customer journey when it comes to why customers choose a business and indeed become loyal customers of that business. So today we'll be jumping into and asking a key question around consumer protection. But before we do that, I think we can take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the show. Please stay with us. You're still watching Ways. Thanks for staying with us. The story between Chioma Egodi and Erisco Foods Limited has made major news over the internet, with features of Erisco Foods attempting to save its reputation and Chioma Egodi facing a tentative 3-year imprisonment for defamation. Tonight, my guest will be here shortly, and we will be discussing the topic, Erisco Foods Saga. Is the Nigerian consumer truly protected? With Priscilla Amadi, and when we open our phone lines, we'll really love to hear what you have to say. And once we come back, of course, we'll really love to hear what you have to say. And today is World Social Work Day. And World Social Work Day has become a time to recognize achievements in the arena of social work, as well as raising support for the vital role that social workers play in families, communities, and societies as a whole. A very important day. I think that as Nigerians, we say charity begins at home, and the family is the bedrock of the society. So where we have social workers who are able to provide the needed support, and I think that when we take that in context of Nigeria, we would not have such a robust, or we don't have such a robust social network, or social worker network rather. But we do have NGOs, and we have lots of organizations that are able to support families, to support different sectors of Nigerians, to be able to support them to meet their needs. So a very important day to be able to support the good work that those organizations do. I think news abounds today in our media around the things that affect different cadres of Nigerians. So a day worthy of discussing and noting as we go ahead. So I think we have a quick, or rather maybe I'll take my story, and I hope we have this story. It's a very important one for me, given that this is International Women's Month and International Women's Day, and I think that we've made a lot of strides as women. And when I was looking through the news today, this story caught my attention because I think that it sounds a very loud, I call it a win. We've had 2 such announcements in a short space of time. I think the first one was predicated by the loss of Dr. Herbert Wigwe, where Ms. Bolaji Agbede was appointed the head at Access Bank. And now we have a further announcement from Zenith Bank announcing the retirement of its current CEO, and then also announcing the appointment of Dr. Dora Meoji as the first female CEO of Zenith Bank. So I think that that's worthy of mention, definitely worthy to celebrate in this very auspicious month where we're celebrating the achievements of women and women's access to equal rights. So I think if nothing else inspires inclusion, it's the ability to see that more women are climbing and ascending the corporate ladder. So it says that the current CEO, current GMD CEO, Ebenezer Onyagu, his 5-year tenure will expire on the 31st of May this year, and that Umeji will then commence the appointment as the CEO. She has been the Deputy Managing Director of Zenith Bank since October of 28th of 2016, and she has a whopping amazing 30 years of experience in banking, with 26 of those years having been at Zenith Bank. The story goes on to list, I mean, she's super, super accomplished, lots of certifications, lots of qualifications, multiple bachelor's degrees, multiple master's degrees, an MBA, and several qualifications, professional qualifications. Also talks about her being a member of several institutions, Chartered Bankers Institute of both the UK and Nigeria, Institute of Management. But she doesn't also stop at that. It shows different aspects of her. She's a peace advocate of the United Nations. She is the founder of the Catholic Bankers Association of Nigeria, and she also has several NGOs. So I think that she's a super amazing and a really, really accomplished profile. And we certainly wish her all the very best. She's flying the flag. She's joined the cadre of other female bank MDs. So I think that this is a time for every woman to use her voice, earn her place, display your excellence, and really go for your goals, because I think we're showing that ceilings are being smashed So it's really exciting for me to see as a professional working woman, to be able to see that women are, transcending, and maybe, should I in fact say, breaking the glass ceiling. So congratulations to her and to Zenith Bank. Looking forward to hearing great things there. So I think we're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll jump right into today's conversation. So please stay with us.
Like both sides, it's pressures from like different
Whose
ways.
video are we playing
the second
first?
part is more so your parents are like, you have to do this. They really don't care how you get it done. And the thing is that like you have all that pressure, you're gonna do it. But then at the same time, it's like you're so young, you need something to cope at the same time. A coping mechanism. And it's like if you hide it really well, as long as you're getting those great grades, your parents, quite frankly, to a certain extent, don't care. My child is doing this. My child is going to become this. You might be doing drugs on the side. You're still bringing back those great reports or those great grades. On the other end of it, if you're not doing well and you're still getting that pressure, at some point you're just like, my parents don't know me. They're not trying to get to know me. Why should I care about this? You fall into the wrong crowd. So it's kind of like there's pressure on both sides where it's like you're either going to pull me towards my parents or push me away. But regardless, it's like there's so much going on. I need something to cope. The people around me are not listening to me. What am I going to do? Drugs are like an easy gateway, like an easy escape.
In today's dynamic global economy, small and medium enterprises stand as unsung hero, playing a pivotal role in driving economic growth, fostering innovation, and creating employment opportunities for millions. Now, according to the World Bank, 600 million jobs will be needed by 2030 to absorb the growing workforce. And believe me when I tell you that the SMEs will be the major employer. My name is Oluwadamilola Ibituri, and I'm on a mission to uncover and reveal the stories of incredible entrepreneurs who are changing the game in the business world. I'll be sitting down with passionate and innovative business leaders as they share their journeys, challenges, futuristic plans, and successes. SME Chats, spotlighting inspiring entrepreneurs, one episode at a time.
Sometimes a lot of music videos in Nigeria, it's just helping to propagate this gospel of drug abuse. I may have one question to directly ask the people, the agencies the law regulatory agencies are in charge of music videos. Please, how do you come and tell me you're not legalizing drug abuse, but then again you are literally giving license to these videos to come out? And then I'm watching a video and I see somebody is dancing 1, 2, 3 and it's puffing up 1, 2 and I go, it's not because of. And the question is whether real or fake, it doesn't matter. You need to understand that the media controls the mind a lot. Let's start from this media space. That's the first social intervention that we need to do. Let's try to put a lot of eyes and regulations into our media content. That is where it will help first. That is the very first social intervention before we now think of let's go and buy books.
Why most youths take drugs is obviously like to fill up like the space or like to keep themselves busy, right? So if we do like implement like a bunch of activities or just like different things that like this youth could literally participate in, then I feel like it'd be reduced. Because like I literally have friends that obviously like they just take drugs based on the fact that like they're home. I mean, like there's literally nothing to do except for like just take drugs and sit at home. But I mean, if you do keep this young minds busy, it would reduce the amount of drugs taken. Also, alongside with the increase of price, because for example, now let me say Molly is like what 5K, right? Let's say you increase Molly to about 15 or 20K. I mean, like it's going to be way harder for people to honestly get that. And like with the whole economic situation, like people are going to honestly cut down and adjust accordingly.
The only thing that really we could do is try to show them with our actions, which I think we're already doing. Like there's youth rallies, there's things like that. That's what I spoke about. I feel like we're already doing as much as we can. The people at the top need to care enough about nurturing the next generation to push them through into these positions for it to go anywhere. Taking care of the people who have no one to take care of them should be my number one responsibility. Making sure that they have access to food, water, school, good jobs, welfare, you know, whatever they need to build them up. Because by building them up, their next generation have a good, at least, foundation to start on. And that way, at least, the level of poverty in this country will reduce. As a government, even if things are getting expensive, we should still be able to take care of our people, the people who can't take care of themselves.
In order for somebody to actually cyberbully, I mean, you must have a problem within you. You can clearly tell when someone is intending to hurt you and hurt your feelings from when someone is just trying to state their opinion on something. Like, it's a thin line, but like, you could definitely tell between the both. Bullies are always going to be bullies, and you just can't let that sort of thing honestly affect you or affect your mental health or affect your person. Because I mean, people will always say what they want to say to hurt you, to make you feel less of yourself, but like, you just have to have that strong mentality that that person could think what they want to think, but I'm going to do me regardless.
This post is cyberbullying my company to close down, and the 3,000 people will go. This company was established before Chioma was born. Whoever is that Chioma, 40 years ago, I was suffering for this company to establish it. Now, because of the rants, we allow her to close our company down. I rather close the Erisco food down and fight for my reputation, fight for my brand, fight for my good name before I die. And stop on with my right, arrogant with my right, I don't no apology for it. And pompous with my right. I must do the right thing, I don't look for trouble. If you come for trouble, I'm ready for you. This she do is trouble. You are celebrating my company. And it's 7 years imprisonment, 7 million naira, or how many years imprisonment? That 3 years. So why must you, because you're a pregnant woman, in prison yard there is a space where you can keep child.
And I've also heard stories of people going and not coming back. So after the question and answer section, they now say they are waiting for a call from above. Because my husband was like, are we free to go now? They said no. They're waiting for their calls from above. And after some 5 minutes, they said there's a problem, that the order from above says they should collect my phone. So I had to give them my phone, and they said that I am not going home. And they walked out. So my husband now went after them to talk with them, to know if it's something that we can go, come back maybe tomorrow. They just walked to the woman on duty, said, throw her into cell.
Thanks for staying with us. So in a Facebook post on September 17th, Chioma claimed to have tasted Erisco Foods Limited's Nagiko tomato mix and thought it to be overly sweet. In response, Erisco Foods Limited issued a statement describing the allegation as baseless and false. According to the company, the post's purpose was to deceive its clients and damage Erisco Foods Limited's reputation, which had been damaged by some elements and syndicates who are uncomfortable with their increasing market dominance as a leading indigenous manufacturer of 100% natural tomato paste. Nevertheless, social media users quickly condemned Erisco Foods management and called on others to boycott the business after learning of Chioma's arrest. So tonight we're asking, Considering the Erisco food saga, is the Nigerian consumer truly protected? Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. So our guest will join us in a short while, but this story is a couple of months old now, or more than a few months old, and it really is an ongoing saga between a customer and a company. And I think that when we have these kind of situations, we're more accustomed to hearing stories like this against, sort of really large-scale corporates, some of the bigger industries or sectors here in Nigeria. But this really puts the spotlight on the manufacturers, and it puts the spotlight on what a consumer's rights are. So we have clear rules and clear rules around freedom of speech, and we have platforms now like social media that gives us the opportunity to give our feedback to not just perhaps the affected companies or organizations, but to share that feedback and that perspective with a lot of other social media users, which is what has happened in this case, where the post that was originally posted by Chioma indicated that she was attempting to buy perhaps the usual brands that she's more familiar with, and she wasn't able to get those. And this was her first experience with this particular organization's products. And when she tasted it, unexpectedly, it was sweeter than she had anticipated. And she put out this post on social media to ask for people's opinions about whether they had used that paste before. So that's the origins of this story. Now, what is unusual? The origins of this story, I don't believe, are unusual in today's reality. Social media is abound with both negative and positive comments and sentiments about brands. In fact, businesses today spend quite a significant amount of money managing their brand identity, managing how they are perceived across with their customers, with the greater public, and particularly on social media. So as a company today, particularly one that deals with retail products and deals with the retail audience, not having a presence on social media doesn't connote a measure of seriousness or understanding of your market, because this is where customers go to find you, to find information about your products. And this is where they go to shape their perceptions about your brand, even before they interact or use your product. So in this case, Chioma made her post, and from what I've seen, it doesn't appear that she has a huge following. She's not what you may call an influencer, but she made this post on social media to ask and call for that feedback, and people obviously started to interact on that post. And that was where this saga began, and there's been several stories, several interviews of her, from how she went from a simple social media post to this becoming a criminal offense, where she's been arrested by the police. She faces a possible 3 years in jail for defamation. There's so many perspectives on this case. I mean, there's multiple sides to it. If you take the actual law itself, some people have said that law in itself is faulty. But if you just take the reality of it, this is a customer who has taken the time to give feedback. When we as customer experience professionals, feedback is what we call the lifeblood of our business. So you want customers to tell you how they feel about your products. You want customers to tell you how they feel about your brand and the experiences they've had with your business. So this is now someone who has genuinely, the company claims that it wasn't genuine. The company has made its own claims about it being false, and perhaps they have had their own issues around people targeting their business and perhaps trying to demarket them. But when our guest joins us, she'll be able to give us her perspective on the motivations for this company. But it's important to state, and why it's important to shine a light on stories like this. Customers and consumers their rights must be protected. They must never have the fear to be able to share their feedback with the company. And we're going to look a bit more at Erisco Foods' response to this. Perhaps this is, some people will say it's the equivalent of taking a sledgehammer to an ant. Other people, and of course, as with social media, very varied perspectives on this issue. Some people who are in business, who are entrepreneurs themselves, or even in manufacturing, have said they love the perspective of the founder. They're happy that he's fighting for his business, because people want to ruin you. That's another perspective. But the reality today is a customer has given feedback, and you have multiple options of ways as an organization and as a business that you can respond. In the earlier days of social media, I think the consumers had the upper hand. In fact, today still have the upper hand, where they give their feedback, and the businesses who choose to respond in the early days were sort of afraid of the impact or how widely, whether a story or a tweet or a post could go viral. This is the definition of a situation that has gone viral right across all the way up to different human rights organizations. The FCCPC for Nigeria, which deals with consumer protection, also took this up at the time and were instrumental in achieving the release of Chioma at the time. So when we find that customers are now shifting, or businesses in fact, because customers still give feedback, but we're starting to see a shift in the way certain businesses respond to that feedback, where in some cases it goes as far as antagonizing the customer on social media. But here we have a story of a business that has taken it off social media and taken it into the real world. So there is the criminal sort of defamation case. There is also a 5 billion naira lawsuit. And I believe that Chioma herself has also then now counter-sued on that civil suit as well. So it's just become a hydra-headed monster, really, around what most people would call an innocent a post on social media that shouldn't have escalated to this extent. But we'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll bring in our guest and we'll jump right into the conversation. Please stay with us.
In today's dynamic global economy, small and medium enterprises stand as unsung hero, playing a pivotal role in driving economic growth, fostering innovation, and creating employment opportunities for millions. Now, according to the World Bank, 600 million jobs will be needed by 2030 to absorb the growing workforce. And believe me when I tell you that the SMEs will be the major employer. My name is Oluwadamilola Ibitoye, and I'm on a mission to uncover and reveal the stories of incredible entrepreneurs who are changing the game in the business world. I'll be sitting down with passionate and innovative business leaders as they share their journeys, challenges, futuristic plans, and successes. SME Chats, spotlighting inspiring entrepreneurs, one episode at a time.
Parenting is different to everybody in the sense that the way I choose to parent my children is going to be different from the way when you have kids, the way you're going to choose to parent your own kids. There are some certain ways that we were brought up, and we ourselves have grown and have seen that, okay, this is the way my parents have raised me. This I like, this I don't like, or even everything altogether I don't like, and then I decide that this is what I want to do with my child.
Yeah.
So parenting is different for everybody, and there's no right or wrong parenting. The most fundamental when it comes to parenting is how you relate with your child. You'll be surprised as a parent. You learn a whole lot from children.
Exactly.
Yes. Children are different. Your gateways are very important.
I get it.
And what do I call your gateways? Your ears and your eyes.
Eyes, yeah.
What you see, what you hear, it goes on to shape what is inside of you. Even as a child, as an adult, that sometimes you are tempted to watch stuff.
Yes.
You know? When that temptation comes, my children and I, to the glory of God, we have been able to develop a relationship whereby if they cannot even come and miss me, they'll go and meet their daddy. See, while I was watching YouTube, this thing popped up. I saw something. I don't understand and I'm scared.
So thanks for staying with us. Our guest today is Priscilla Amadi. Priscilla is a graduate of computer science from the University of Port Harcourt and a professional member of the Institute of Customer Service Nigeria. She has vast experience in the customer relating field, which spans over 12 years, business analysis and blue ocean strategy inception, design and implementation. She believes in providing customers with great service and that would give them a positive experience and ensure the success of an organization. So all strategies deployed should ensure that. She's an evangelist for service culture as a holistic practical approach to ensuring customers or users find success. She also runs the Service Culture Academy. She loves good leadership in business and politics. So with that profile, Priscilla is a fantastic guest to have on the show today to discuss this topic. Priscilla is joining us via call at the moment. So Priscilla, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, good evening. This is a topic that's very dear to your heart. Lagos has shown shege in its own way today, but we're glad that you could join us to kick off the conversation.
I wasn't going to make this for the world. You know that, yeah?
Yes, we know that it's a topic and a situation that you followed right from the beginning and one that you're incredibly passionate about. So give us your perspective on this case. What was it about Chioma's case with Erisco Foods that caught your attention initially?
Okay, so what caught my attention was the feedback given on Facebook, right? That is the most harmless and the most reaching feedback any professional in customer experience would want. Because she wasn't going on out about blabbing and just saying things that wasn't there. She complained about a specific source of concern, and then she went ahead to ask other users, like, okay, are you guys also having the same challenge I'm having? So when that thing happened with the whole police, I went back to that feedback. And then I read it and I was like, is there something else we are missing? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Yeah. And then I read it over and over, and I took my time and read the responses from people who went off point from what she was saying. People who were raising up concerns that were not even flagged in her her post. Her post was as simple as possible, but there was a case of people that had comprehension issues that were just taking it left, right, center, which is what you get in social media. Mm-hmm. So I particularly was very sad to find out that she was arrested, on, I think, 24th September 2023. That's how far this case has been. Mm-hmm. And then I think she was released 26th, and then she was carried to Abuja. And I was like, wait, hold up. Is it the same feedback that this lady is being taken for or something else? Why is she being detained? And then the whole saga has been going on. So that caught my attention from the beginning, because for someone like me that's always on the lookout for feedback, I was like, okay, there's nothing wrong. We've seen worse. We've seen worse. She didn't do anything wrong. So that's what caught my attention. I've been following it from last year till now.
Yeah, so I mean, it is an interesting one, and certainly will resonate with a lot of customer service and a lot of CX professionals and people in general. I think a lot of people have rallied on both sides of the divide. But I love what you said about feedback and us needing to value feedback from the customer. I want you to give your thoughts on the Nigerian perspective, because there is the argument that if this had happened in another country, the impact perhaps on Erisco Foods business would have been a lot more, where perhaps they would have, the boycotts would have gone a lot further. I mean, I know that I've spoken to quite a few people who are not even aware of this story. So how does the Nigerian factor play in that we're still seeing a lot of support for Erisco Foods? How does that sort of sit with you as a professional in terms of, so how should consumers feel about products? How should they give feedback in a way where they may not be targeted in such a manner?
All right, it bothers me that Erisco Foods has any form of support, right? It bothers me as a professional, because we in the customer experience field, we know how difficult it is to get customers to give us feedback, both solicited and unsolicited. Sometimes you put out feedback forms up to 10,000 and you don't even get up to 100, right? You would have as far as cold calling to get some kind of feedback that you need. And then you have a free feedback that is going to be highlighting a potential challenge in the business. right? Which might, for me, I think that if the concern is about sugar or a very high amount of sugar, it's somewhat leaning towards, is there a quality assurance issue that, as a professional, there are 1001 things that runs through your head. Why is there so much sugar content, and then it's going this way. It's so sad, and it's a very terrible precedent actually to set for the Nigerian consumer, because she was well in within the Federal Competition Consumer Protection Act. She acted right within her right to give feedback, and her rights, her human rights, are being violated in every single way of the word. We're not even talking about just the law. How about the normal norms of the trade, which is just customers having an opportunity to have an opinion about the things that they buy with their money to consume? Because you see, what goes into your mouth affects your health. So she has a right to give feedback as regards how it comes across. So I think that this witch hunting that is going on right now, is what I call it, is a gross human rights violation and just personal vendetta to me, to be honest. Because it doesn't make sense to anyone who cares to listen that a customer gives feedback from a service that they paid for, and then what happens? Someone chooses to arrest them for that. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't see how it is okay for a Nigerian consumer to be going through this kind of human rights violation. It's not okay by me. And as a customer advocate, I rightly, in all totality, condemn these actions by Erisco. And I'm saying Erisco Foods, pull back, right? Maybe there's a reason why, but it's not covered with. This lady is within her rights. And as a professional, I stand with Chioma all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. She didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I mean, your passion just sort of resonates through when it comes to this particular situation. So let's attempt to give a different perspective, or the perspective of the company. And in looking at some of the interviews that the CEO has given, he's sort of tried to give some, would I say, indication that perhaps his company has been targeted in the past by people that are trying to maybe undercut his business. And perhaps maybe that is what has fueled his reaction to this particular case. But we also could compare this to other organizations who also get customer feedback in the negative. So what would have been a better way, right? If you say that this was a company who perhaps had a customer experience professional at the helm of its affairs, maybe it's crisis management, it's public relations. Because, I mean, at the moment, this story for Erisco Foods goes beyond customer experience now, right? It's now a full-on PR, brand issue. Yes. So if a customer experience professional was at the helm of the affairs, what would have been the better way to handle this?
I love that you asked me this question. In fact, if I was in the studio right now, I'd give you a hug for this question. Because, you see, it's very simple. It's something we face every day. Now, if you are a customer experience head, let's say you are heading the customer experience team at Erisco Foods, right? If I were doing that, my first point of call would be to reach out to Chioma via her DMs with the official social media account, apologizing for the experience she has had and requesting for a one-on-one interview or conversation, right? First off, you have to apologize because she felt inconvenienced. That's what she's complaining about. So after you do that, you request, with her kind permission, if she chooses to have a one-on-one interview, and that's to find out more in order to help you initiate investigations as to what the concerns are. Is it the quality? Is it, you just need to be able to narrow down where the challenges are. Because for every one Chioma, there are 20 other Chiomas that would not come out to talk. So you have one Chioma who is speaking, right? You have one Chioma that is speaking. And that she's representing every other person else who just threw away the can without saying anything, but will tell all their neighbors not to buy Erisco products because it's bad, So I think that after doing that, after apologizing to her and requesting for a one-on-one interview, you go there with clear mind. You go there with an open mind to be able to get all the feedback. You're not going there to defend the company. You are going there to gather feedback. What was the challenge around that? Can I have that? Do you have the container? Can you save it for us? Can we have that? To be able to track the production of that particular container that she got, or the particular sachet she got that thing from, right? After you've done that, you can now forward your investigations to the company, but not without, assuring Chioma that her feedback has been noted and investigations will be going forward. And then if your company has, and your company must have compensation plans for such situation, maybe a pack of tomato paste for her, maybe a sachet, something to just compensate her for the inconveniences she has gone through. But that's not where it ends. As you do your investigations, you keep Chioma in the loop so that she feels like she's a part of whatever feedback or whatever improvement that she may have recommended. And if after your investigation it turns out that there was nothing wrong, but maybe she had maybe heightened taste buds, or maybe she naturally doesn't consume that much sugar, and maybe the company did the sugar that has been, the quantity of sugar in that product is agreed upon with NAFDAC, which is the governing body for these foods, then you give your feedback to her and say, oh, actually, we've done our investigations, this is this. You give her the right information. I promise you, you can change Chioma from a customer who is sourcing for other customers who is facing the inconveniences she has, to even a brand, to a brand ambassador without nobody asking her. You could have easily turned Chioma to a loyal customer. They could have turned her to a word of mouth ambassador. They could have done a lot of things with this situation. Not this current choice situation that they made. Yeah. It's an option that nobody should go for, right? See, we know that some customers may come from an angle of ignorance, maybe from bias. There are a lot of things. But what you don't do is weaponize their feedback. You don't do that. You don't weaponize their feedback. You do your investigations and use it to be able to turn that customer's mind around. And if there is foul play, maybe you've gone ahead to do investigations and you figure out there is foul play. There are channels to lay these complaints. You don't just take police to the customer's house to arrest the person and move the person to another state because of feedback. You don't do that because you are managing the customer's emotions. You are managing the other customers that are going to be looking up to you. And now, Erisco brands that would have used this as a teachable moment. Gino brand had this same situation, was it 2 weeks ago, where a customer did a whole video bringing out Gino from the pack and saying about how bad it was. The handling skills demonstrated by Gino is top-notch, and I'd like to give a shout-out to that company. They did a fantastic job managing that situation. They even compensated the customer with extra tomatoes, sachets, and all that. And the customer came back online where he left the feedback to tell the whole world how it went, and we all knew, we all shared in the story. Yeah. So I don't know if there's a head of customer experience in Erisco brands. I don't know who is managing the customer experience there. This is beginning to look like the company has no regard for their customers' experience, and I do not stand to be corrected based on their activities so far. So I would expect that the company take a step back, look at their business going forward, because there's a boycott right now on the company. For a company that has stayed, according to the business owner, I said it's been over 40 years in business. It's very sad that just a very simple feedback is costing the company so much. Now they are doing the most. They are writing so much, trying to appease customers. The same customers that feel like their rights or their views are not appreciated. You want my money, but you don't want my opinion. That's not good. That's not good at all. You cannot want my money and then we don't want my opinion. And this is not even about personal opinion here. Yeah. So Chioma is protected by the FCCPA Act. She's protected by the law to give her feedback. And that's why Mr. Babatunde Irukera, at the time, when he was, is it chairman or DG of FCCPC, he was following up this case. Because I followed him during this situation. I've been following this case since last year. He followed this case up and he was giving feedback. He was part of those instrumental in the release of Chioma from her initial detention. And to see that even after the involvement of the FCCPC trying to stop this situation, the company still go ahead. And guess what? They didn't even go coming from the part of the feedback. They went for cyber crime. Yeah. The charge leveled against Chioma is cyber crime. How is it cyber crime to give feedback?
It was a very interesting approach. And I think we can take a quick break now.
Because they know she's protected by FCCPC. Yeah. That's why they chose to go through the other route. And it's just pure sad to every Nigerian consumer. It's a slap on the face of every Nigerian consumer and every consumer-related professional out there.
Yeah. I mean, we sort of mentioned it earlier about whether even this law was a valid law to take on board for this case. But you said so much in that response. I think we can take a quick break now so that when we come back, we can open up our phone lines. Please stay with us. If you're just tuned in, we're discussing the topic, Erisco Food Saga, is the Nigerian customer truly protected, with our guest Priscilla Amadi. Please let's hear what you have to say. You can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp message on 0384663. We're also now opening our phone lines, and you can call us on 0702 500 7749. Remember, when you call us, please turn down the volume of your television set so we can have a great conversation. So Priscilla, are you still with us?
No leave, no transfer.
Fantastic. So I love that when you talked about, and really that's our focus today, is about protecting the rights of the consumer. And you touched a bit on the Federal Consumer and Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission and the Act as well. And I think that I was happy to see in this case that the then DG did take up this case, and he was very active. And the mandate of that organization talks about protecting and promoting the interests and welfare of the consumer. So it absolutely sort of fits into this. And if we distill this and remove Erisco Foods, you know, there's so many things that are wrong with that. But if we actually focus on the average Nigerian consumer today, it is clear by what we've seen in this story that a lot of customers don't know their rights. So you mentioned NAFDAC, right? The CEO had talked about the fact that why wasn't a report made to NAFDAC? Why wasn't a report made to the Standard Organization of Nigeria? He touched on all of these things, and he said, oh, when we got the report, he went around to his company, around the country, to see if they had gotten reports. And I liked how you talked about, you know, getting the actual product itself. Perhaps there was this batch, you know. It's possible for things like that to happen. So
it could be a quality assurance issue.
Yes, exactly. So I think we have our first caller. I think we have Loman from Abia. Good evening, Loman. Great to have you on the show again. Good evening. Hi, good evening, Loman. Can you hear us?
Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Let's hear what you have to say.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead, Loman.
Good evening, my sister.
Good evening.
This is Loman from Abia.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. I'm fine. Yeah. See, I want to let us know one thing. Hello.
I think you might need to turn down the volume of your TV set. Okay. All right, Priscilla, I'll come back to you. I think we'll allow Loman to try and sort that out and call us back. So as I was saying, we've talked about sort of the approach that the company should have taken, right? And when we talk about the consumer today, it's important for consumers to know their rights. It's important because I've spoken to a lot of people today who are like, if this can happen just on tomato paste, should I take on a bigger organization, you know? And you start to impact something that is really crucial to being able to deliver quality customer experience, which is actually getting your customers' feedback. So there's a real risk to the customers. There's a real risk that this sets a precedent for other entrepreneurs and businesses to say, I'm going to take a combative approach, because that's what it is. We're taking a combative approach to the consumer's rights. So just wanting you to sort of talk about what the rights of the consumer are, because there was a post on social media by another person who had really been following this case and advocating on behalf of Chioma, where she talked about what should be displayed on a product. And I know those regulations are typically set by, the standards organizations by NAFDAC as to whether you not only need to tell us how much that there's sugar in your product, but how much sugar is there in your product. So talk to us about the rights of the consumer. What should consumers feel today when they make a decision to spend their money with your business, given the reality of today's economy? If I spend my Naira with you, what should I expect? What rights should I have?
Okay, so consumers, right, in this sense, have a lot of rights. Right to fair dealings, right to examine goods, right to represent. There's a lot of rights. It's all listed in the Act, right? I don't know if I have enough time to be able to list them all.
We'll have to bring you back to discuss the Act itself.
Yes. So yes, for just the Act, we really need to talk about that, because you will be very shocked at how much the customers actually do have rights. Okay, you have consumers' right to select suppliers, consumers' right to cancel advance reservation, booking or order, consumers' right to choose or examine goods, consumers' right to return goods, falsely. It's a lot, really. I don't know if we have these things, right? So like you said, you did one of the major things that have been
Priscilla, let me just stop you there. I think we have a caller again. I'm not sure if Loman is back.
Okay.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Let's hear what you have to say. Hello, do we have a caller there? Okay, Priscilla, I'll come back to you. I think we're having network issues. Please go ahead.
Yes, so Chioma is covered under 131, right? And that consumers' right to safe, good quality goods. And then there are also other places too that she can be protected under, right? So the fact is that, we stated earlier, I said that's why they took a unique approach. And if you look at it, it is not Erisco Foods directly suing Chioma. It is the Nigerian police force that is doing that. And because I think they had gone back and done their research and realized that, she actually is within her rights to be able to make those complaints. And that's why they put it under cybercrime. And that cybercrime to me is a blanket statement. Like, what do you mean by cybercrime? But that's besides the case. Now, coming back to Nigerian consumers, right? We do not want, as customer experience professionals or customer advocates, we do not want this precedent to be set. It is dangerous for consumers.
Yeah.
It can be referred to. And the fact is, if we allow this to be set, we would have irresponsible companies, we would have irresponsible businesses hide under this action to get away with terrible actions against customers. And
Priscilla, let's see. I think we have a few more callers. Let's see if we can take a few calls. Hopefully the network will allow us to have a few.
Hello.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Please let's hear what you have to say. Hello, good evening. Wow, the network today is really, really terrible.
Hello.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Please go ahead. We can hear you. Hello, Kingsley. Please go ahead. We can hear you. Okay, Priscilla, I'll come back to you. I think we're really struggling with the network today, and we're getting quite a few calls, I understand. Please go ahead, Priscilla.
I'm the only one that doesn't have challenges far.
Thank God for that.
I can't be dealt with both ways, traffic and the network. God had to smile down on me for one. So, as we're saying, right, if this precedent is set, it's extremely dangerous because even as professionals, we're also consumers.
Yeah.
Right? Currently, there's a worldwide pandemic when it comes to customer service right now in Nigeria. So you don't want to add a dangerously set precedent of human rights violation and personal vendetta to the list of already very poor customer experience or customer service being set, right? I do not think that any professional would look at this and say, oh, this is okay, right? And I'm wondering how it is okay for the company to continue this route. I personally feel extremely sad about this.
Priscilla, let's see if we can get a few more callers. I understand we have quite a few waiting. Good evening. Thanks for calling. Let's hear what you have to say. Hello? Okay, so I think we're... let's just take your final comments, Priscilla, because I think we've now run out of time. We'll have to do this again.
Okay, my formal comment is this, and I hope that probably Chioma sees this, and her husband sees this, and her family sees this. I'd love her to know that she didn't do anything wrong. And I'm saying this as a customer advocate and a customer experience and relating professional of over 12 years. Chioma, you didn't do anything wrong. Also, I would also appreciate the lawyer who took this pro bono to be able to, give her a fighting chance, because they're trying to intimidate her based on money. And then to other consumers out there in Nigeria, please do note that we, the customer experience professionals, are not just going to sit back and allow these precedents to be set. We'll keep on speaking about these issues so that they feel protected, right? Because we need them. We need our consumers to give us feedback. It is one of the most coveted form of business improvement. And we tell them that we apologize for these inconveniences that is currently going on, the emotional trauma that both Chioma and other consumers are going through. We apologize for that. I would say we'll keep on speaking about these things.
Yeah, thank you so much, Priscilla. Sadly, we couldn't get you into the studio, but thank you for joining us. We have a quick comment here from Daniel Illo. He says, is the Nigerian customer truly protected? He says, Nigerians truly are not careful concerning what they take. That is why they get into problems. Companies are only interested in making money and not the welfare of the consumers. To my own view, generally, Nigerian consumers are not protected. So thank you, Daniel Illo, for that. Thank you for staying with us. If you missed today's quote, our DNA is as a consumer company for that individual customer who's voting thumbs up or thumbs down. That's who we think about, and we think that our job is to take responsibility for the complete user experience. And if it's not up to par, it's our fault, plain and simple. And that's by Steve Jobs. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Thank you.